Hello, everybody. In this session, we are going to talk about redirects and how to manage them from AEM. A few words about myself. My name is Yegor Kozlov. I'm an AEM developer for about 10 years, started with version 5.6. I like open source. I am a committer in the Apache POE project, and I like contributing patches in other projects. The tool we are going to discuss was contributed to ACS Commons. A typical website is a live thing. Pages are published, unpublished, content is reorganized, and when you work on it, you typically need to set up redirects to send users to a new destination to avoid 404 errors. Another common use case for redirects is migration of legacy sites into AEM. And in this case, you need redirects to ensure that the transition is as seamless as possible. From content author's perspective, managing redirects should be as easy as editing and publishing pages. And ideally, everything should be manageable from AEM, and it shouldn't require IT support. You don't want to ask your IT team to restart dispatcher or rebuild any configurations. And ideally, it should be a universal solution working on different versions of AEM, including AEM as a cloud service. And as we will see, there are some challenges with it. There is more than one way you can manage redirects in AEM. First, the core page component supports redirects via secure redirect target property. With this option, redirect is a property of a page, and it means that the page needs to exist in order to make it work. If you delete the page, then the redirect is deleted along with the page. So this option is fine to send traffic from one part of a static content tree to another, but it's not good for dynamic sites, which are subject of redesign. Then we have Sling Mappings. There was an excellent talk on day one about Sling Mappings. They're very powerful. This is a very powerful option, simple and fun for developers, but not for mere content authors. From my experience, I found it hard to teach content authors to construct Sling Mappings and do it right. So it's more an option for developers rather than content authors. Then we have Apache mod rewrite rules. With this option, redirection is handled at the dispatcher level and terminated at the dispatcher level. And performance-wise, it might be one of the best approaches because in this case, redirection is terminated outside of AEM. The problem with this option is that in many setups, including AEM as a cloud service, dispatcher is an immutable server, which means you cannot update your redirect configuration and copy it to your dispatcher instances and reload it. No, you need to check in the code in the repository and then run code deploy job and rebuild dispatchers. ACS Commons includes a tool called redirect maps, which automates creation of HTTPD redirects in AEM. It has been around for a few years. It's still fine to use in classic setups, but this tool is not compatible with AEM as a cloud service. And finally, there are more exotic ways to manage redirects. For example, at CDN level, you can define, for example, Lambda functions in Amazon CloudFront. Again, this might work fine in some cases, but it's not manageable from AEM. You need something better. The Redirect Manager tool was developed and contributed to ACS Commons to overcome all these limitations and make managing redirects simple and fun, nice and easy. Essentially, it's a servlet filter with high priority, which intercepts requests, evaluates redirect configurations, and returns a redirect. The tool provides nice touch UI to manage redirect configurations. It does not require any programmer effort. Everything is managed from AEM. And it's a 100% AEM solution. It does not involve any external systems, does not require dispatcher. Everything is managed and evaluated in AEM. The tool provides flexible request matching including support for regular expressions and back references. In terms of functionality, it's more or less on par with Apache mod-rewrite rules. So if you previously managed your redirect configurations in Dispatcher, it's possible to migrate your old rules into the new tool in AEM. The tool provides context-aware configurations and rewriting location header. We will see in next slides. You can edit your redirect configurations online in TouchUI or offline in an Excel spreadsheet, and then import your data back to AEM. And it is compatible with AEM as a cloud service. A special focus was put into it. Now let's have a quick demonstration. The tool is a part of the ACS Commons family from the main AEM screen. If you go to ACS Commons, here we go. The tool is called Manage Redirects. The default screen lists available contextual configuration. /conf global is always present. It is created by the ACS Commons installer. Go to it, and here you can start adding your redirect configurations. If you click the Add button, it will open a dialog where you can select where to redirect from. It can be existing paths or non-existing paths. For example, target field is where to redirect to. Status can be either temporary or permanent redirect. If until date is set and there was a match, then redirect will happen until that date and stop after that date. If this field is blank, then evaluation of this rule will happen without any date check. And notes is an optional command. You can edit your redirect configurations, modify existing configurations, remove your rules, add new rules. When done, go to the Publish tab and click Publish Redirect Configurations. This will replicate your redirect configuration to publish instances where they will become immediately available. That was the basic flow. Like I said, you can manage redirects online in TouchUI. Also, the tool provides a handy feature to export redirect configurations in Excel spreadsheet. Then you can edit this Excel spreadsheet offline, add new records, modify existing records, and when done, you can import it back into the tool from the Import tab. So that was the basic flow. Let's go back to the slides. Let's see what we can put in the source and target field. In the simplest form, a redirect is a mapping of one JCR path to another. The path can be a page, it can be an asset, it can be anything that can be matched from a Sling request. Source can end with a trailing wildcard, or it can be a regular expression. And a regular expression can contain matching groups, which can be back-referenced from the target field. In this example, all child pages below we retail DE about will be redirected to the English versions, and the page name $1 is taken as a back reference from the source first matching group. If you prefer, you can add optional .html extension in the source field. It's optional. The tool understands both with and without extensions. Target can be a full JCR path. It can be short path. It can include optional query string, which will be put in the location header. Or if you prefer, target can be an absolute URL starting with schema. And all these notations can coexist. Some rules can have full JCR paths, some can start with relative paths, some can be absolute URLs. It's up to you. In terms of the repository structure, redirects are saved under a contextual root. The default is /conf global. The configuration bucket is called settings. It's a default in many applications in AEM. Below it, the configuration name redirects, and below it, we have a collection of rules. And every time you're editing a redirect in the tool, it will modify a node here. This requires zero configuration. Just go to the default /conf global configuration, add your redirects, replicate to publish, and you will be good. This structure can significantly grow with time, especially in large setups with many sites or with sites with many pages, and it will become hard to manage. And it's a reasonable idea to separate redirects per context. Firstly, the tool provides a way to register new contextual configurations. On the main screen, if you have a contextual root /conf my site or whatever, you can select it on the main screen and register it in the table. And when done, you should be able to start creating your redirects in the new location. Editing is no different from the default case. The only difference is that your redirects will be saved under a different path. Instead of /conf global, it will be /conf your site. When evaluating requests, the rule will look up for a contextual property. The tool will look up for a contextual property cqconf, typically defined at site root level. And then it will check if configuration referenced by this property exists, and there is a redirect configuration in this root. And if it is so, then redirect manager will use contextual configuration. Otherwise, it will default to the default /conf global configuration. So context-aware configuration is a nice way to organize your redirects in AEM. Next important topic is rewriting location header. The simplest form of redirect is a mapping of one JCR path to another. And it might not work in setups where dispatcher will only accept short URLs. For example, in a hypothetical wretail.com site, if we have a redirect rule which redirects page 1 to page 2, and a request to page 1 goes to AEM, the tool will intercept it and return full JCR path in the location header. This will result in 4.4 in subsequent request because dispatcher will not accept it. Dispatcher only accepts shortened domain URL. So what options do you have? Of course, it's perfectly legal to define your redirects in terms of relative short URLs or absolute URLs. It's up to you. In this case, you won't be able to browse the target field in AEM, and it's your responsibility to put the correct value in the target field. But it's perfectly fine. There are cases, however, when you want to manage both source and target in terms of full JCR paths, for example, for consistency's sake. And the tool provides a way to rewrite full JCR path using Sling Mappings. The idea is to match a request and then pass the result through resource-resolver.map before putting it in the location header. This option needs to be activated in the OGI configuration. The default is off. Then you will need a Sling Mappings. And for the previous example, for the wretail site, it might look like this. Under etc map, there will be a node HTTPS, then a node with the domain name www.retail.com of type Sling Mappings, and Sling internal redirect set to /content wretail. And with this configuration, if a request to page 1 will enter AEM, the tool will match it to our new JCR path page 2. And before putting it in the location header, full JCR path will be resource resolver mapped. And in the location header, we will have shortened domain URL. And this will keep dispatcher happy, and user will get redirected to the correct destination. So that was second option. Finally, There can be cases when you don't want or you cannot use link mappings for whatever reason. In this case, you can write a class which implements location header adjuster. This interface is shipped with ACS Commons, and here you can implement any logic you want to rewrite location header before it will be put in the location header. You can rewrite based on request path, headers, where the user is authorized, anything you want. So there are 3 options you can deal with short URLs. First, explicitly put them in the target field when you're editing redirects. Second option, rewrite using Sling Mappings. And third option, use a custom class, which will rewrite URLs for you. And the last topic is performance. A common question is whether this tool will impact performance, and if it will, how bad. Firstly, it's an opt-in feature, inactive by default, and you need to create an OSGI configuration to enable it. Once Redirect Manager is enabled, rules will be cached on first hit. It means that there is no resource reading, traversal, evaluation time. Everything is evaluated in the memory cache. And the tool keeps a separate cache per contextual configuration. Then internally, the rules are divided into 2 groups. The first group are exact matches by path. And matching this is basically lookup in a map, which has a constant time and very fast. So no matter how many exact matches you define, it will be always fast. If none of exact matches satisfied, then the tool will try regular expressions. And performance of matching regex rules is proportional to the number of regex rules you have in the system. This is usually a reasonable assumption because the number of regex rules is typically smaller than the number of exact matches. And that was basically it. The source code is in the ACS Commons project. Check out, try it out, send us feedback. Patches are welcome. It's time for questions. Is there a way to redirect all HTTP requests? No. It should be done at the dispatcher level because all traffic in AEM, it's typically HTTP. AEM does not know whether the request was HTTP or HTTPS. Is the dispatcher caching the redirect? And if so, how is invalidation done? No, dispatcher does not cache the redirect information, and there is no invalidation required. So you don't need to mess with dispatcher. Any more questions? Good. Is there a way to set caching headers? Yes, there is a way to set caching headers. Let me open the OSGI configuration. In the OSGI config, you can set up optional response headers. You can set up optional response header, which will be set if there was a match. It can be cache control, max age, whatever you want to set it here. And this settings is global. It's an OSGI setting which will apply to all context. It's a global thing. But the answer is yes. You can set up additional response header to apply when there was a redirect match. Any more questions? I will take it as no. I'm around. If you have any more questions or feedback, I'm around. Reach out to me. Thank you so much. The last question. It's fully compatible with AEM Cloud Service. The tool works on 6.4, 6.5, and AEM as a cloud service. Thank you so much.